All Vikings, let's win this game.
Something is brewing in Minnesota, and it isn't just another offseason storyline. A familiar veteran is suddenly being linked to the Vikings. At the same time, quiet conversations are beginning to build around the future of the biggest star on the roster. And while fans continue searching for answers at the game's most important position, Kevin O'Connell isn't giving anyone even the slightest hint about what's coming next. One thing is becoming clear. This offseason may be remembered for far more than anyone expected. There's one area of this roster that keeps drawing attention, and it isn't because the Vikings lack talent. It's because one injury or one disappointing stretch could suddenly expose a weakness that nobody wants to talk about. The pass rush has plenty of upside, especially with Dallas Turner expected to take on a much bigger role. But behind the top names, the depth still feels uncertain. That's exactly why the conversation around adding an experienced veteran refuses to disappear. One player who continues to generate buzz is Jadeveon Clowney. Even this late in his career, he has shown he can still disrupt opposing quarterbacks, and several analysts believe Minnesota should at least explore the possibility. The numbers from last season suggest there is still something left in the tank. Despite playing a reduced role, he consistently created pressure and proved capable of finishing plays when given opportunities. For a team trying to maximize every defensive snap, that's difficult to ignore. But the real question isn't whether he can still contribute, it's whether the fit makes sense for both sides. Would a player with Clowney's resume actually accept a rotational role behind younger pass rushers? Veterans who believe they can still start often prefer waiting until injuries around the league create new opportunities. If that's his mindset, Minnesota may have little chance of bringing him in before the season begins. Financially, however, the idea makes plenty of sense. The Vikings have shown they aren't afraid to make smart, affordable additions when they believe someone can strengthen the roster without damaging future flexibility. Kevin O'Connell and the front office know how important consistent pressure is in today's NFL. You don't beat elite quarterbacks by hoping your starters stay healthy all season. You prepare for adversity before it arrives. There's also another intriguing name floating around the conversation. Haason Reddick has been mentioned as another veteran who could fit this defense if the coaching staff wants someone with a proven history of getting after the quarterback. While his sack totals have dropped recently, advanced metrics still suggest he can create disruption, and sometimes pressure tells a much bigger story than sacks alone. Whether it's Clowney, Reddick, or someone else entirely, the message feels pretty clear. Minnesota may not be finished shaping this defense just yet, and the longer nothing happens, the more fans wonder if one more move is still waiting before the regular season begins. The conversation surrounding Minnesota's offense always seems to circle back to one player, because when the Vikings take the field, everything eventually connects to the superstar wearing number 18. Justin Jefferson has already established himself as one of the most talented receivers the league has ever seen. But talent alone isn't enough when the quarterback situation remains uncertain. That's why so many fans are watching this upcoming season with both excitement and concern. Jefferson has continued producing despite inconsistent quarterback play, yet everyone knows his ceiling is even higher when the offense operates at its best. The arrival of Kyler Murray was supposed to raise the level of competition and stabilize the position, while J.J. McCarthy continues fighting to prove he can become the franchise quarterback Minnesota envisioned. That competition creates hope, but it also creates pressure. Analysts have pointed out that modern NFL contracts often give star players flexibility later in their careers, leading to questions about what could happen if the Vikings fail to solve the quarterback position over the long term. Right now, there is no indication that Jefferson wants to leave. In fact, people close to the organization have repeatedly talked about how much he values his relationship with Kevin O'Connell and how appealing the idea of spending his entire career in Minnesota remains. He has spoken before about admiring players who stayed loyal to one franchise, and many fans believe that's still the path he hopes to follow. But loyalty in the NFL is often tested by one thing above everything else: winning. Jefferson isn't simply chasing Pro Bowls or highlight catches anymore. He's chasing greatness. He's chasing records. He's chasing a legacy that places his name among the greatest wide receivers to ever play the game. To reach that level, he needs consistent quarterback play capable of maximizing every ounce of his talent. That's what raises the stakes for this season. If the offense finds stability, Minnesota could finally unlock the version of Jefferson that dominates every Sunday and reminds the football world why he's considered one of the league's most unstoppable weapons. But if another year ends with missed opportunities, inaccurate throws, and playoff disappointment, difficult conversations could eventually begin. Not because Jefferson lacks commitment, but because every all-time great wants the opportunity to compete for championships while building a Hall of Fame resume. Vikings fans understand that reality better than anyone. The organization doesn't just need to protect its biggest star with a new contract. It needs to give him the quarterback capable of helping him chase history. That's the challenge facing this franchise, and what happens next could echo well beyond this season. Not every rumor deserves attention, but sometimes a hypothetical scenario is interesting because it forces you to think about where this franchise could be headed. The Vikings aren't expected to make any changes at quarterback before the season begins. The roster is already crowded, and the focus remains squarely on the competition between Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy. Still, looking beyond 2026, some analysts have started wondering what happens if neither quarterback firmly claims the future of the position. That's where an unexpected name entered the conversation: Baker Mayfield. The veteran has completely reinvented his career since arriving in Tampa Bay, transforming himself from a quarterback many people had written off into a proven leader capable of winning divisions and putting together Pro Bowl caliber seasons. Because he's entering the final year of his current contract, speculation about his future has naturally started to grow. Some around the NFL have even floated Minnesota as a possible destination if he eventually reaches free agency. Now, let's be clear, this isn't a report that the Vikings are pursuing Baker Mayfield. It's simply an outside projection based on how uncertain the quarterback picture could look after this season. Even so, it's the kind of conversation that gets your attention because it all depends on what unfolds over the next several months. Kevin O'Connell has built a reputation for getting the best out of quarterbacks, and Minnesota has become an attractive destination for offensive talent because of its coaching staff, supporting cast, and offensive philosophy. If the current competition produces a long-term answer, then none of this will matter. The Vikings will gladly move forward with their chosen starter and never look back. But if questions remain a year from now, it's only natural that established veterans will be connected to this organization. The financial side makes the discussion even more interesting. Baker Mayfield's next contract could easily place him among the highest-paid quarterbacks in football, meaning any team interested would need enormous confidence that he's the missing piece. That's not a small commitment, especially for a franchise that has worked hard to maintain flexibility while building around young talent. Vikings fans know all too well how quickly quarterback situations can change in this league. One season you're convinced you found stability, and the next you're searching for answers all over again. That's why these conversations refuse to fade, even if they feel premature today. For now, Minnesota's future still depends on what happens between Murray and McCarthy. Until one of them firmly takes control of the job, outside speculation will continue to find its way into the conversation. There may not be a bigger storyline surrounding the Vikings right now than the quarterback competition, and Kevin O'Connell knows it. Everywhere he goes, every interview he gives, every public appearance turns into another attempt by reporters to figure out who will be taking the first snap when the regular season begins. During a recent appearance with Dan Patrick, the questions came one after another, all aimed at getting the Vikings head coach to reveal whether this competition is truly as open as the organization claims. O'Connell never took the bait. Instead, he stayed consistent with the message the team has delivered throughout the offseason. His focus isn't on naming a starter before the calendar says he has to. His focus is on creating an environment where both quarterbacks push each other every single day. That's exactly what he believes gives the Vikings the best chance to succeed once the games actually count. It may sound like classic coach speak, but when you watch how O'Connell handles these situations, it becomes clear there's a purpose behind it. He isn't interested in feeding headlines. He's interested in making sure whoever earns the job is fully prepared for the pressure that comes with leading this franchise. Even when Dan Patrick jokingly tried to corner him by casually referring to Kyler Murray as the starter, O'Connell simply smiled through the awkward moment and answered with two words every Vikings fan loved to hear: "Go Vikings." That response said almost everything without actually saying anything at all. Inside the building, the competition continues. Outside the building, every practice seems to fuel even more debate. What's especially interesting is that former Vikings receiver Adam Thielen believes this entire situation could actually benefit everyone involved. From his perspective, bringing in an accomplished veteran creates healthy competition while also giving J.J. McCarthy an opportunity to learn from someone who has already experienced the highs and lows of being an NFL starting quarterback. Rather than viewing the battle as a setback for the young quarterback, Thielen sees it as valuable development that could ultimately make him a better player, whether his future remains in Minnesota or takes him elsewhere. That's a perspective many fans hadn't fully considered. Competition doesn't automatically create division. Sometimes it creates growth. Sometimes it reveals leadership. Sometimes it prepares a player for moments that can't be replicated in practice. As training camp moves closer and preseason games begin, every throw, every decision, and every practice report will be analyzed across Vikings Nation. Eventually, someone will earn the starting job. Until then, Kevin O'Connell appears perfectly comfortable letting the competition speak for itself, and that patience could end up defining one of the biggest decisions of the season. As this season gets closer, it feels like every major storyline surrounding the Vikings connects to one question. Can this team finally put all the pieces together? The pass rush may still need another veteran. Justin Jefferson is counting on stability under center to keep chasing an all-time legacy. The quarterback competition remains the biggest talking point, and the decisions Kevin O'Connell makes over the next several weeks could shape the direction of this franchise for years to come. That's what makes this training camp feel different. Every practice carries weight. Every preseason snap matters. Every roster decision has the potential to change expectations heading into Week 1. As fans, we've experienced enough heartbreak to know nothing is guaranteed. But we've also seen enough promising moments to believe this team has the talent to compete if everything comes together at the right time. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these stories concerns you the most? Should Minnesota add another pass rusher? Who do you believe should win the quarterback battle? And how confident are you that this offense can unlock the very best version of Justin Jefferson? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this is only the beginning of the conversation. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you never miss the latest Vikings updates. Until next time, take care, keep believing in the purple and gold, and as always, stay tuned. Skol Vikings, let's go!